Loud. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening's event of Home Studio Show and Tell here at Edge Studio. And by at Edge Studio, I mean like on your computer screen. Jerry, what's up? Great to hang with Siobhan and all my VO buds. Okay, come on in. I'm just gonna make sure I've got, I'll be slowly letting people in as we go. My name is Siobhan. I am hosting this thing that we are doing tonight. This is our January, February, March, April, fifth session of exploring people's spaces in the online context. And so here at Edge, we do a number of different things in the voiceover education world and universe. Oh my God, Yen, stop it! I'm always excited to see Siobhan's makeup. Okay, I do appreciate you all so much for that. Thank you. I did not tip Yen to say that about me, but I appreciate it. So here at Edge, we're a voiceover education facility, among other things. We also have a production department, but we are really passionate about education. And so I want you all to know that we do have a spring sale going on. So if you are inspired by any, yeah, okay. I've got some glitching happening here today. If you are inspired by anything today and you're thinking, I really want to like train in voiceover and I haven't done it yet, check out our sale. We are offering really amazing discounts on our demo programs, on our that's our coaching to demo training packages, as well as a demo recording. If you're a professional who just wants to make a new demo, we will mix it and produce it for you at a super sweet discounted rate. Tomorrow night, if you're like figuring out your digital audio workstations and you're like, what is all of that? I'm not good at it. What is EQ and compression? Ooh, we do have an EQ and compression 101 course taught by the incredible Art Bruder. He is such a love, and so I encourage you all to sign up for some classes and do some good things for yourself in the educational world. I do also have, let me see if I can pull this up. We have a forum here at Edge Studio. It's our kind of community forum that is a pretty rad place to hang. And I have dropped in some information in that forum in advance of this session regarding our special guests at the show and tell and their gear and their websites and all that good stuff. And so that is right here at this link for our studio forum. Now, I am talking quite a lot. I am really happy that you are here. If this is your first time, thank you so much for coming. If you've been here before, well, I am so glad that we got you back. And last month was wild. So, and also this month is fun too because I just, accidentally compiled yet another, not accidentally, I knew they were amazing, but I just don't know everybody personally, and then I get to talk to them for a few minutes beforehand, and I'm like, oh, look, this is going to be fabulous. So how this works, first of all, there's a gallery mode option if you want to watch in gallery. I will be dictating some of this experience for you. You'll see in your top right corner of your Zoom square, if you're on a desktop, or your Zoom experience, there is a view button. That view button, you can do speaker or gallery. The gallery is where you can see everybody's squares, which is fun. I like to kind of see how everyone laughs at my really funny jokes. But I will be spotlighting people tonight, obviously, because our guests are, showing us their space, and we want to, I'm going to make it larger for you to see. However, if you're in speaker mode already, then I'm already blown up for you, and, I don't blame you for choosing that option either. So, the chat is where we keep it hopping. Obviously, we've had some muting and unmuting scenarios, though my settings are crystal clear this time, so, the glitches, they will be what they may, but you're going to communicate with us in the chat, and that's just because, as you can already see, the muting and unmuting chaos of Zoom is distracting, and it's, as much as I might seem like a multitasker, I really want to be someone who's focused. So the chat allows me to do that. So we can start by just dropping in how you're doing in the chat, or what you're up to, or where you're joining us from. If you're drinking, if you're hydrating tonight, or if you're already on a different journey. Oh my gosh, David's not here. I'm having a spicy margarita. Don't tell him though, okay? So that's what time is it? All right, I'm on the West Coast, so it's still happy hour, even though it's kind of early to get this going. And with us tonight, we have two West Coasters, accidentally, and they're super duper fun. Charles from Texas. Okay, very about finished and excited about finishing your personal studio. I love that. The home studio is such a journey. Mute yourself, then post a guess on how much time it takes for Siobhan to get made up. It's funny that, and I won't tell you the answer to it, honestly. But that's funny, Dave. So sipping some of flaming hot Mountain Dew. We love to see it. So how this is gonna go is I'm gonna showcase our guest to you. I'm gonna interview them a little bit in my interviewing kind of way. We're gonna learn about their journey. They're gonna show us their studio space, and you can ask any and all questions you have for them about anything at all regarding voiceover and their space in the chat, and I'll facilitate it over. We've got two people with us tonight. We've got Melanie Katz and Tony Beltran. Actually, Tony, I hope I've said your last name right. Or is it like Beltran?
It's just Beltran. Beltran.
I mean, I'm happy to like jazz it up for you, you know? Okay, he's like it's just Beltran. So we've got Melanie and Tony with us tonight, and I'm really just chuffed that they're here, and I'm really pleased to be able to share them with you. What's up? All right, we got DC, we got Virginia, working on my mobile studio. So amazing, amazing. I built a small studio and I called it Narnia. The evening crowd is funny. I love this. Okay, so hold on, I'm gonna cough. All right, now then, let's get this going. So I'm just gonna get us started. Yeah, keep letting me know how you're doing and what you're up to in the chat. And you can guess, I guess, how long it takes for me to put on my, my aqua-themed colors. This thing is from Hawaii, actually. It's my godmother's. She was a military brat, and yeah, she used to live there, so it belongs to her. So, okay, with that, that's super fun. I am bringing to the stage Melanie Katz, everyone. Super happy to have you here, and I'm adding myself into the Zoom.
Oh, thank you. Like, how do I make myself smaller?
She's like, can I not though? I know it's a whole thing. So, Melanie, thank you for being with us. Thanks for saying yes. Y'all, I need to say I have this form for Home Studio Show and Tell that people can fill out to kind of come join us. And Melanie's photo, which I shared on Instagram today, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, dream booth feels. So we'll just get started though before we talk about the dream booth feels, and you'll see what I'm saying in just a moment. Like, you'll see what I am saying. Melanie, would you tell us a little bit about your voiceover journey and who you are and how you got into voiceover and what's going on with you in your career right now?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I so appreciate it because I've been watching these and I'm so obsessed with everyone else's studios. And even though mine is almost complete, but I think we probably always, futz around, but I'm so obsessed with what we can do in our home space. So I am a stage manager, show caller for corporate events where live VOs happen, and you bring in a VO artist sometimes, but not all the time. One of the things that I learned doing this job was that I was expected to do these VOs. It was part of my job, and I came from theater, and then to do this, I'm like, this is weird, but okay. And then after a while, there were a couple of shows in particular that kind of shifted me because I was ready to tech the show and do all the technical side for the show, but I had to record the VOs, and the creative director kept giving me notes and we'll read it this way. And I'm like, I need to tech my show. I don't have time for this. Why didn't you hire somebody? So I finished that show. I came back to Vegas and I I'm like, I need to figure this out. What is this VO? I would like to learn mic technique and just learn the basics of what I'm expected to do. So I Google voiceover, and I found a studio here, and they were doing an intro class, and it was a 3-hour intro class. And I'm like, let me go and see. But after the first hour, I was hooked. I'm like, yeah, this is me. I didn't realize what voiceover was and everything about it. There's so much voiceover, and I had no idea. I thought I was just going to the studio to learn mic technique so I could do better at my job. But I found my space. Basically, I'm like, this is me, and I need to figure this out. So I'm on the road a lot, so I would go and take these ongoing classes as much as I could, and just try and pick up stuff because I was so intrigued. And then it just was very scattered, and that was in 2017. And then fast forward to pandemic, everything stopped, and I was like, okay, I had no work. Everybody's out of work. What do I do? I thought, well, this would be a good time to just deep dive and let's see what this voiceover thing is for me. And so I went back to basics, took basic class, my beginner classes, and then just started taking ongoing classes in all different genres to just kind of expose myself and see what fit. And I was just a sponge and loving it all. And I just couldn't get enough. And I was taking like sometimes 3 classes a week. And then I'm like, I've got to make this a career. How can I do this fast? And you just can't do it fast. So, I learned all of those things. And meanwhile, I'm in trying to figure out which room felt best to be in, take class, and eventually be a recording space. So I was bouncing around into different closets and all over the place. And then long short of it landed in the closet in my office here. And then built it out, and I'll show you what that is, shortly, but that's kind of in the nutshell of
Melanie, you mentioned did you say show caller? Is that right?
yeah.
Can you tell us what that is for folks who may not know?
So for these live events and and live shows like the Academy Awards, any kind of live event where people are on stage, and you see videos playing or graphics or lights moving, there's somebody on the headset with the crew, I guess like directing the show basically. So I call cues according to how the show flows, and in that there's voiceover. So there, a lot of people know live announce. So that's where we fit into these live shows, is for the live announce, introducing people to stage, telling people to sit down, kind of what's coming up next. So that kind of thing. And sometimes they hire people, sometimes they expect us to do it. So that was kind of my exposure to this world, was doing this because it was expected. And now I'm like, oh, I can get paid to do this. And so that's kind of, does that make sense? It's kind of a little.
It's awesome. Yes, people are saying very cool, and I've heard that's really hard as we don't have an undo button. So you gotta just have a lot of confidence, I think, in your reads.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes I get to record them. But some of the live shows that you see, like the Academy Awards, the Oscars, and all of that, that is done live. And yeah, it's a one take, one and done. And if you flub something live, that's what it is.
Woo!
Yeah.
I love a thrill, though. There's nothing like it. I mean, that is coming from the theater and things like that. It really is. It's wonderful to know that anything could happen. So
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So then, Melanie, will you just give us a tour of your space?
I would love to. So bear with me. I'm going to move, but I'm going to go very slow so no one gets vertigo off of my tour. So bear with me. So this is walking from my desk into my office. I have this beautiful door. This was the last piece that I got, was my glass door. And then when you walk in, this is what you see. Straight ahead is the back. And if you can kind of see, it's not a square room. The right side is kind of at an angle, and then the left side is more straight. So it kind of ended up being a perfect kind of space. So I don't have, square walls. So I walk in, and then my mic, oh, I forgot to take that off. So I have my mic, bear with me as I back into here, clamped onto that shelf. And then I have my computer, and I'll explain a little bit more. I've got a lot of electronics in here, and I'll explain why. But so I'll I'll record onto my computer, and then I have an extended monitor here because I'm kind of blind and I can't read scripts off of the 13-inch. So I just move it over to here. Everything went to sleep. Sorry, everyone. So yeah, so I just kind of move my scripts here. I can read them better. And then my mic, I can pull down and adjust it wherever I need it. And Siobhan, tell me if this is looking okay, if you're getting the gist.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Okay. It's hard to tell on Zoom. So to my immediate right is where I have my computer, and then the arm for the microphone. And then this is a laptop tripod table. This is just clamped on. This shelf is clamped on so I can take notes and whatnot. This shelf where this monitor is can lay flat, but I have it upright because it fits this monitor perfectly. And then I have some iPads on a mic stand on these clamps. And again, I have another shelf for my drinks and snacks and whatever. And then I have these panels that were built by an amazing person here, Mark McNatt. He's a voice actor in town who's just the kindest and built these panels. He'll build sometimes if he has time. If you ask him at the right time, he built them. And they were all wrapped in muslin. And I just chose my fabric and I covered them. And then, of course, you have to have the twinkle lights. And then just real quick, why I have all of these monitors and electronics in here is because during the pandemic, I'm gonna see if I can turn this thing back around. During the pandemic, I was calling a bunch of virtual shows, stage managing them, and I picked up some jobs just as a voiceover doing live virtual events. And I used every device in here. I would have to be logged on to 2 different devices, 2 Zoom calls, because and then I had my script on one, and then I had a production team in one ear on one monitor. It was insane in here. And I'm just blessed because I have so much, I have room in here to rearrange and put a table. So I had a table in here, sit down, and I had all of these monitors with everything going. And I was in here for 6 to 8 hours a day on some of these shows. And then I also, all of this doubled for if I was calling a live show as a stage manager. So they kind of got double duty. So I've been working to get more live voiceover, live announced stuff. That's kind of been what I've been trying to go for, because it works really well with my corporate stuff. And I like the aspect of doing things live and the excitement of that. So I picked up some unique jobs over the pandemic. So that's kind of it. I did everything.
Love it. I love it, and I appreciate also talking like the many different kinds of work we can book and we can get in this wild industry.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's so many genres, and there's so much that that they'll create for you. It's just a matter of just digging and talking to the right people. And I don't know, I feel like there's so much to offer for us to do this in so many different ways, right?
Melanie, do you know the dimensions of the room size you're working in?
So I measured last night. So the longer wall is about 7 feet by the back wall behind me is about 5. And then this is about a little over 5 where the door is. So 7, 6, 5, something like that.
Okay, amazing. Look how prepared she is. She's like, I knew you guys were going to ask me that. So, and the multiple iPads, just to be clear, they're for, like, some is for script and some is for production and some is for different meetings.
Yeah, so for both, it was just crazy how I was getting these stage manager jobs, and then I landed some voiceover live announce jobs. And I would be on multiple Zoom calls. So I had to have different devices. So one device that had the show, I had an earbud in one ear. Another device had a Zoom call for the production team who were talking to me in another ear. And then I had scripts. And then I had to monitor another a show flow so I could follow along to see where we were in the show. So there was a lot going on.
That's so much. I do a few different kind of production things on Zoom, and I gotta get like one. Y'all have nice iPad holders. I've got like a music stand, and I just feel like I'm in the before times with it, because it's kind of big for an
No, well, I started with my music stand, but it wasn't stable enough. It wasn't. So I have sandbags on my tripods here because nothing could move. So it would tip over too much, the music stand. So trust me, I tried and it fell. It was very embarrassing. I'm like, okay.
Do you have treatment on the ceiling, Melanie?
Oh, I do. So I have, let me flip. I have this one hanging on, I think the chain is about almost, I want to say 3 inches. So I hung this one above me, and there is an air conditioning vent, but sadly I had to disconnect it because I couldn't, it's too loud. So as we know, the hot booths, I thought, yes, sweet, this is going to be great, but not so much.
How is the there is a question about the ventilation. So
it's hot.
Okay.
It's hot. Because this wall over here in front of me is an outside wall, but it's right at my front door. So I don't, the noise that I get, because one other thing I did was I put insulation in the walls because I live near an executive airport with those, where they fly those, they look like old time crop duster planes. And those suckers are so penetrating and they fly low. So I needed to, that's why I also got this glass door, not only because it's nice to have, to be able to see out of your booth, but this door is so thick and heavy. It totally seals me in here and I really don't hear the planes anymore. So, and yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like, I guess wherever you live, in my booth, we, I don't know if anybody remembers me talking about, there used to be a rooster.
Oh, right.
Just crow, and my brother share a studio, and we're just like, oh my gosh. And the rooster's gone, but now there's a dog, and the dog's really loud. So there's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the type of door? Your door, like we're obsessed with the door.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the door too. So, and let me just say, so this was a labor of love, this room, because it happened during the pandemic. Lost all my work. Everybody lost work. It was insane. And I would come in here and just picture in here that IKEA type built-ins, that white, bouncy, that I'm trying to think, that material of like the drawers and the shelves, and it's very shiny. That's what was all in here, but there's built in that a friend of mine, I didn't do it, a friend of mine pulled it out. So that's what was in here. And I was trying to make it work so I didn't have to pull out, because it was nice to have shelves in here and extra storage. But I would come in here and I had hung packing blankets to try and get rid of that bounce off of that white, whatever it's called, that material that of
Mica.
whatever, but what do you call it?
Formica.
Yes, exactly. So I was trying to make it work and the space was getting smaller and smaller. So I would be recording and my arm would hit the packing blanket and I'm like, this is not going to work. And it was getting very frustrating. And I knew I needed to take the frustration out of my booth. It's not allowed in here. So I had gone into one of my mentors, Melissa Motes here in town, she recorded my telephony demo. during pandemic, went to her house, into her booth, which I walked in and was like, oh, it was just gorgeous. And I'm like, what? This is a possibility. And so that opened my mind to up to ideas of how I wanted to build this out. Because I didn't know. I thought it had to be foam. I thought it had to be, packing blankets. I thought it had to be all of this stuff. And then I didn't know what these panels were. I had no idea. So I went off on a tangent, and I can't remember what your question was. Sorry.
Your door, info on your
door.
door.
The door, back to the door. So she got a door, and I'm like, I have to have that door. But so sadly, my door frame is not a standard size. So I had to go to a door company, but you can get them reasonably priced at Home Depot or Lowe's, where she got them. And I'm like, sweet, I go to order one, and the dimensions of this door is not right. So I went to a door company, and they special ordered it. But it's an outside. So the sweet thing about these doors, they're heavy because they're meant for your indoor outdoor. So like your patio. So they're thick. It's totally seals your room, and the glass. It's like triple pane glass, and it's just solid. And that really, once I closed this door, that just like did it, and really sealing in the quiet. And
amazing. There are so many more awesome questions I want to jump to, but we will circle back to that. We'll circle back to you, Melanie, once I get Tony going. So,
yeah,
freaking thank you. Super
thank you.
awesome to see. Really appreciate you. It's really just I love your space so much. So Tony, welcome. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks so very much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you said yes, and you're just a pleasure. Tony joins us from Los Angeles. We got Vegas and LA in the house, so if any of you were just having a dreary day, we've got the sunshine for you. So so Tony, let's get it going. Will you tell us a little bit about your voiceover journey and how you got into this wild, unruly world yourself?
Well, let's see. I work in the television industry, but in the post-production side of it, but on the video side of it. And I've had people tell me many times, you should do voiceovers. Well, back in the 90s, I took a voiceover class, and the guy who taught the class was the guy who did the parquet butter. Remember back in, I think it was 70s, 80s, and the little thing that said, I think that's parquet, and the little container would say butter. And that was him. And it was on for years. So anyway, he was the teacher for the class. Anyway, I ended up not going through with it at the time, and then just shelved it. And my career in television has been pretty decent through most of the years. But these last few years, they sent a lot of the work to India to try and save money. So I was laid off. And fortunately, I came back. And I was very fortunate to have come back and get a job again. But then COVID hit. And just like Melanie, where she had some time on her hands, I was like, well, I'm going to need a backup plan, because even though I've done television for so many years, I should probably have a backup plan in order to fall back on something if TV doesn't work out because I can't get a job in it. So I said, I'm going to pursue the voiceover thing. And then I did find out it was a lot easier nowadays versus the CDs and cassettes and everything that they had to send and actually go down to studios, which I always thought was really difficult to do back in the 90s, working with a full-time job, daytime job. So I thought that would be kind of difficult. Nevertheless, I decided to take some classes and found somebody in my area, and Dan Ballestero, and he's fantastic and taught me so much. And I've taken over about a year and a half worth of classes, and then along the way did some work, a little bit of work. And but during the pandemic, I needed to. I was like, I had one I had one job that I had to do, or actually I did a few jobs, but the jobs that I did, I had this type of booth. And let me, allow me to
Yeah. Ooh, that's
this
exciting.
is my booth. That was my booth when I first started out. As you can see, it was just a matter of, moving blankets, ladders, and putting myself under this cover. So with that, I was like, okay, I'm going to build my own booth. So what I did is I went on YouTube and I saw people who had whisper booths. Because I wanted a whisper booth, but $5,000 or $6,000, $7,000 was too much. So I said, let me try and build my own. So I went on YouTube and saw other people that built their own. Can I do this? I took the best of everybody's ideas and then put them together myself. And I came up with my own booth, and I have it in my garage. So as you can see, here's the car, and here is the booth.
Y'all, are we okay? There you are. All right. Okay, we got image. Image is that yes.
So again, this is the garage, obviously. And so then here is the booth, and it's separate because the wife didn't want it inside the house, and I wanted something bigger than what a closet offered. So this booth, it's basically like a whisper booth, but hand built. And so
Okay, is it moving for other people or are we frozen? We're frozen,
No,
right?
it's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen.
is it still frozen now?
You
There you
might,
go.
Tony, you might turn your camera off and then on the Zoom settings just to give it a little refresher. Yeah, just see. Okay.
That work a little bit better?
Yeah.
So something that I learned about doing a booth, something I learned about building a booth was how to build it. And I learned a lot about sound frequencies. And if you build a booth, you can do it because I'm not mechanically inclined, but I know, put two sticks together, put a screw through it, and it works out pretty well. What I ended up doing was I found out that sound going through different types of material will dissipate the sound even more as it goes along. So if you look at the booth and I show you the side door here, I'm going to switch the camera around again. And I show you the side door here. It has carpet on the outside. It then has plywood, mass loaded vinyl, which is the black part, styrofoam, rock wool on the inside, sheetrock, and then of course the foam on the inside. So there's 6 different layers of material for it to go through. So it makes it really soundproof, almost soundproof. There's some things that still get in, but what I did was to learn how the audio was going to work. So I found out that one of the other things I needed to do was to make it modular, because I lived in a rental house and I thought, okay, what happens if I have to move? So again, going on YouTube and finding out how all these people built their places, so some of them built them modular, meaning that they're all different, that it can be taken apart and put together in a different location. And ironically, I built it in July of 2020, and in February of 2021, I had to move. This time we bought a house, fortunately, and now I don't have to move it again. But if you look at it, I built it with 6 walls, 1, 2, 3, 4, top and bottom, and the other 2 sides. So this is what it looks like the construction of it. There's a top, a bottom, and there's rock wool on the inside. You can see here, these are the layers that are put together. That's mass loaded vinyl, styrofoam going on top of rock wool inside of the styrofoam. And then more rock wool. And the reason why I said it has to be modular, because I had to take it down and move it. And here it is on a trailer after I had built it. And then I reassembled it here, which is what we're looking at here.
Tony, it is one of my fears when I move, like moving the booth. Like I feel sick a little bit just thinking about that. But you did it.
I did. And also, and to inside.
We lost you again, love. Tony, if you can hear me, maybe you will stop your video.
So, and it's really sealed. So the one thing is, like everybody's talking about
In pre-show, he was totally clear. Yeah, I don't know. The powers that be have.
One of the things that I was most excited about him. What? Can you hear me?
We
Sort of.
we kinda. You're coming in and out.
Here, let me try that. I'll try this again.
Yeah, it's a little fuzzy, but okay.
Can you hear me? Can you see me? Hear me now?
Yes. You were saying.
So one.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to show you is that everybody talks about ventilation. And so I said, okay, I need ventilation because if it's a closed box as this and it's sealed on every single joint all the way around, how do you get air in there? What I did is I'm going to put air into it, but I said, why don't I make air conditioning? So what I did is I created this system. Again, I found it on YouTube. And basically it's like a vacuum or like an air blower that they use to dry carpets that's cut into this cooler that goes through, goes underneath here and goes back out here and goes down and then into the booth. And you say, well, what's the cooler for? Well, below it is a freezer full of blocks of ice. So I would take the blocks of ice, put them inside the cooler, and then it blows cool air into the booth through this vent down here.
Getty's just clapping for you, and I am joining him because I'm truly speechless. Is it? I mean, it must be quiet, Tony. It quietly blows air from the ice cooler, camping cooler. It's quiet.
Yes, it is quiet. And here's the thing. So in the industry standard, and again, all my research and everything, I found that I needed to have minus 60 dB noise floor. So I achieved that with this booth. And it's actually even less than that, it's even lower than that. But minus 60 dB is what I'm supposed to have as far as it being quiet. And what I did is that the air comes in through the hole right here, but then it goes through a maze with foam on it before it goes into the vent that comes up under the top, thereby making it not necessarily soundproof, but it deadens the sound coming in from all the air. And there still is a trickle of air that comes in, or like noise, but the NS1 software that you can use actually negates it and takes it out of play, which is nice. But here's one of the things I'm most proud about. So I do all this, and then I have this cooler, and it gets full of water, because where's all this ice go? It melts, just like if you're at the beach, right? So what I did is I put a tube that goes like this down to a bucket, and then I can take the bucket and just pour it out. So I don't have to move the cooler. Isn't that cool?
Jerry's like, did NASA design this? Like, you said you weren't mechanically inclined.
I'm not, but YouTube is awesome. YouTube is awesome.
I also just, again, I need
Oh,
to
so
say, I'm really proud of gifting everyone with two aesthetically incredible studios. We've got like a purple, pink, black energy, and we've got red and black.
and one last.
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
So the last thing I was going to tell you is that I needed to make this modular. If anybody's experience with foam is that when you glue it to something, when you pull it off, it's going to tear.
Okay.
So what I said is like, okay, if I have to move this, let me make these sheets. So I put these on sheets so that I could take and move it and not have to worry about putting it back in, like gluing it back on individually.
So wait, you take that. Why do you take that off?
The only reason I took it off is because, like you, and your fear of having to actually move,
Yeah.
your fear of actually having to move, this is what my booth looked like when I moved it after I had already built it. So I had to put it in all these panels, and I couldn't let it sit there and crush the foam because each one of these panels weighs probably about 75 to 100 pounds. So the reason why I did that is that so everything is on sheets, so I could take it off of the top, the sides, even the base traps are on sheets,
Wow.
so that I could move it if I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also the air conditioning that I had mentioned, it's actually inside the booth. Sorry for the vertigo. It's actually inside the I have two switches and I can turn them off. And then actually the second one I forgot to tell you is that when this fills up with air, it gets too not too stuffy, but if it has too much air, it needs to escape someplace. So I also have an exhaust system built the exact same way at the top of the unit. So there's an intake and an outtake. The other one's blowing it out. So, and all of this was learned by YouTube.
I, I'm truly, it's true. YouTube is the place for how-tos and life hacks. And, to Tony's point, if you are looking for something, YouTube can show you the way. It might also lead you to, who even knows but it seems like Tony, so you just like self-taught yourself how to do your entire studio.
I did. I learned a lot about audio first, and then I put it all together. And it took me about a month and a half. And also, one other thing to mention is that the cost of this was about $2,300, and a whisper booth is about $5,000 to $7,000. And I would consider mine also is a whisper booth is modular also, but this one's modular, but it's also probably as quiet, if not more quiet, than a whisper booth.
I appreciate that, and thanks for the candor about the price of these things, because I know that's a big question that new folks and beginners have. Also, classic question, Tony. What are the dimensions of your studio space?
So the whole thing is like a piece of like a piece of plywood. It's 4x8, but because of the reduction of the foam coming in, it's probably more like 3.5 by 6. Actually, yeah, by 7, 3.5 by 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And also the other thing I forgot to or not to mention is that I did keep the computer out of the booth, so it's out here, and everything goes through a hub down here that goes into it. So that's the only place that leads in. There's no electricity going into it, so I have an AC line coming out this way. I know David talks about the possibility of AC hum going over lines and stuff, but I'm fortunate that I do not have that. In addition to that, the lights that are on the inside, they are remotely controlled and they're battery operated. So I have a remote control, and that's how I turn them off and turn them on.
Hell yeah!
And
And then how often do you have to replenish the batteries in those bad boys?
I invested in rechargeables, And I would probably say once a month, maybe.
Amazing. Yeah,
But the rechargeables take care of it and make it last a long time.
lighting a booth is a part of the journey, and in a way that those look so good though. Those look good in your from your ceiling, like they're legit. Okay, amazing. This is great. Bye bye. Thank you for coming. Um, Really, totally awesome. Amazing. Tony, thank you for the tour, and like, gosh, you are innovative, like as a just as a person. So, thank you, and yeah, super appreciate everything that you've shared. Is there anything else about your studio space before I do a little other thing?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to tell everybody. So the gear that I'm using, because I'm always curious about what gear everybody else is using. And again, I'm more or less still starting out, and I want to get some better equipment. But right now, I've started off with a Rode NT1A microphone with a Scarlett 2i2 interface, USB interface to take the XLR cable to USB into my computer. And I'm running a MacBook Pro computer, and my DAW is Twisted Wave. And it's it's Swiss Wave. I have a secondary microphone of an AKG P220, and that one is a stand-up microphone because I can sit down or stand up in this booth, so which is nice. And I have both of them going to an AB switch going into the interface to get into the computer, so I can use either one of them with just a switch of a button.
Amazing.
Really wonderful. You both are just a pleasure. Aren't they just a pleasure, y'all? Aren't they just like I just warms my heart to be with amazing voiceover people who make me feel excited and inspired, which is the goal of all of this. Kitty's is like my turn, my turn. So I guess one of my favorite things to kind of wrap these things or coalesce stuff is I guess, Melanie, and we'll start with you. Is there something about your studio at this point that you would like to improve, or a goal or a dream for a future studio, or is there another step in your space, or do you feel like you're kind of in a place that you feel good about?
I'm in a space, I cannot complain. I'm in a space I feel really good about. It fills me. My goal now is to get better on the tech side, as far as just my recordings and editing and all of that end of things. For now, I feel pretty solid in my space. I don't think I need to do any more right now. Tony, your space is amazing. Holy cow. I am so impressed and inspired.
Yes.
Truly, that's really super cool.
And I think that's a very valid goal, is to just build that confidence in your engineering skills. I mean, there's so many. I feel when people are like, oh, I'm like tired of trying to be an actor. I'll just do voiceover. I'm like, there's no just doing voiceover. You have to learn like 5 skills. So enjoy that lifelong journey. Tony, what about you? Is there something that you would improve or change about your existing space, or are you feeling pretty good about where yours is?
I'm feeling good. Actually, I want to upgrade to an Apollo interface. That's about it. Everything else I'm content with because the computer is dedicated to this. The Rode NT1A serves my voice rather nicely. Although later on I might experiment with something else, because I've always heard the Neumann U87s are the thing to have, but there's $3,000. So that's a pipe dream. After a lot of voiceover gigs, maybe I can get that. But overall, no, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm actually very content with the quality of the room that I get to work in. And also, I do all my editing in there also. So that's something else that I wanted to make mention of, was that I don't have another room that I edit in. I actually edit in that room too. And there are speakers underneath, and in case anybody cares, they're KRK6 Rocket 6s. And they serve the purpose of hearing outside of the headphones. But I do most of my editing on headphones and such.
Amazing. I will say, so I'm friends with I don't know if people know Voice Tracks West, Andrew Feliciano, and I was doing a project there where I brought in I created a performance for a voiceover booth, and I brought in my Aston mic, which is like a $300 mic, and it was picking up fuzz essentially from like a cell phone tower. And Andrew was like, hang on," and he just like replaced it with the Neumann, and I was like, okay, and like I will just say that thing picked up my every move. It like I just like I felt like I could whisper across the room and it would hear me. It's a beautiful that $3,000 piece of machinery is really glorious. So yeah, we can always just fantasize about just one day I'll get this thing that costs $5,000. Anyway, Melanie, what's your favorite thing about your booth space right now?
My door. I do love my door. And then I will say one thing that I did when I was building it out, I had an electrician come in and put power inside, and that has saved me. So I'm not crushing, because I was pulling cables through the door and it was smashing when I closed the door. So I put power in there, and that is another favorite thing of mine, because I'm not struggling. I have power and I have internet. I have a hardwire internet that I'm like, I got to do this. So those two things are pretty happy about.
This is the first home studio session I feel like I've done where I'm like, we love our doors here.
Yeah.
Your door also, I called it a wedding cake in the chat with all the layers. And I just feel like thank you for that. Tony, is there something your favorite thing about your space? I mean, you have a lot of fun aspects to showcase, but is there something in particular that you feel really good about?
Well, I really like the air conditioning because it's creative, and that's why I like the air conditioning a lot.
And
I too actually, like Melanie said, it's as far as being proud of like a part of it. I like my door too, because it's really thick, and when I go in there, it's like my own little world. So it's nice to actually be in there.
A studio is a really special place because of that. I finally, when I go into the booth and I close the door, I feel like my own thoughts get quiet. Like it's just,
Oh yeah.
and I don't know if you can hear the helicopters above me right now, but yeah, that stuff is always kind of ringing in your ears. Melanie, Tim is asking, says he really likes your space, and it's
Oh,
the
thank
kind of space
you.
that he would like to have.
Aw.
Can you comment on your sound chain? Tim, what do you mean by that? Does anybody know what that means? The gear. Oh, okay. Just in, I guess, do you want to tell us a little bit about the kind of gear you've got going?
Sure. So I started with the NT1A, but it was not good for my voice. And so I just bit the bullet. I have a Neumann TLM 102, and it's adorable, and it's a whole new learning lesson how to work with the Neumanns. It's super sensitive, but I've gotten comfortable with it, and now it's good, and it works on my voice well. I have so I work on a Mac. I have my DAW is Twisted Wave, and I have a Focusrite, but 2i2 as well. I got the Apollo Solo, but I'm not so tech savvy. It's taking me a long time to learn how to use it because there's a lot of stuff on there. So I'm playing with that, but I think I like it a lot. But it's going to take me a minute because I'm a little slow on the tech end of what we do.
As I've said, there are so many aspects to what we do that I feel like everyone deserves grace. And hopefully, if people are like super stressed and they're like, Melanie's doing it, I can do it too. Okay, that's totally awesome. Future goals will probably start with a garment rack with a blanket. Yes, starting somewhere. You got to start somewhere at all, honestly.
Well, I just want to say one thing too, because I was in my space before I did all of this with the walls, and I hung, I had blankets up. I tried everything that everyone was recommending, and I really, I didn't take that long, but I took a good year in there to just be in there and then figure out if that is one, am I that committed? You know, because gosh, don't do that if you're not 100% committed. And to feel out the space and just use your intuition, like what feels good and what, you know, is this the right space? And then slowly peel it, because I feel like it was like an onion. I slowly started peeling things back in there until I was like, all right, let's gut it. But it took me a minute to do all of that. So that's my recommendation to everyone. It's like, be in your space and however it is, and treat it however you can to record. And then you'll figure out if this is the right space, then fully commit, you know. I don't know, that's my recommendation, because you can go crazy.
You go crazy and then you cry and it's a whole thing. I'm not saying I've ever done that, but Tony, if you could give advice to yourself, your former self, starting off on your sort of home studio journey, from where you are now, like what do you maybe wish you had known when you began to kind of put this together?
Well, actually, I put a lot of research into what I was doing, but I realized in learning from people on the internet using moving blankets and closets and whatnot, and ventilation and heat, because I don't like to be hot, so I wasn't really into that much. But I had a space to put this, and like I said, this happened during COVID, and I said, okay, I'm going to commit because I can do this on the side. And I can do this on the side while I'm working in television. And it's interesting too. I work in like foreign distribution for a bunch of different shows and movies and whatnot. And one of the things we do is audio description. Audio description is the description of what's happening in a scene in a movie for deaf people. So deaf people can actually watch a movie, or they can listen to a movie, but it's somebody is describing what is happening. John is walking to the refrigerator. He opens it up and pulls out a bottle of beer. That is a voiceover job. And I did not, I mean, I'm in that industry. I mean, it's literally right next door to where I work. And I was like, wow, so I can be in my industry in addition to trying to do television commercials and stuff like that. So, but looking back, I decided to make the commitment because I had the time because of COVID. So there was a lot of just concerted effort and knowing that I did have time, because once I build it, they will come. Actually, that's not true. They have not been flocking. I have to go out and get my own work. If you build it, they will come. That's not true.
Ooh, Tony coming in with the tough love here. Yes, if you build it, maybe it's like if you build it, you will be motivated.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you're prepared. My thought is you're prepared. That's been my kind of philosophy going into this, is like, I want to be ready. I want to be ready for anything of course, in the cost and and that I can. But I just say, Tony, you're just ready for anything. And that's how I like to look at it.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, you know, in my learning process, I wanted to take some classes through Edge, and I've taken one with Siobhan and her social media classes, and that helped me out to understand it. I'm still fearful of it to a certain extent, but she really opened up my eyes and helping with that on that Edge Studio class. But like you say, when you have it and you're ready to do it when you're ready. I have already purchased, but I have delayed it. And I have a class with David to actually make a narration demo with him here with Edge Studios. And like you said, you have it and you're ready to go. We had, unfortunately, last year, one of our family members that was living with us and had cancer, and we had to go through a whole year of something. So voiceover got put on the back burner. And because of that, I have it and I'm ready to go when I'm ready to go. But with that, I can take breaks like that if I needed to. Not that I want to, but if I needed to, I can. So now I am prepared with the booth and I'm all set to go, and time has moved on. So that's why I'm looking forward to working with David and having him help me with a narration demo next.
Y'all, I really appreciate what you're saying, and I think the thing that I try to talk to students about is strategy, and the strategy is there for you to like put your best foot forward. It doesn't mean that like obviously, I mean, Tony, my compassion to you, my sister-in-law is stage 4, and it's a
All
serious
right.
part of my life, right? And so I have to drop stuff when I have to drop stuff, and but the structures that I put in place, my goals for June, my goals for July, right? Those exist so that I don't get totally lost in the fray of like, boy, procrastinating is easy in voiceover because you're like, I gotta get a demo, I gotta get a home studio, I gotta like be really comfortable with a DAW. I also have to be good at auditioning, right? I have to like figure out which online casting site I'm gonna commit to for a while. I mean, there's so many different things, and so I would say just like make a list of the things you need to do and then start looking at your calendar and seeing when you want to create goalposts for. They can be moved. Goalposts can be moved, but some sense of structure for your strategy I think is so important. And I want to also mention both of these two. And if you've been to the Ask Me Anythings we do with David, when people ask about gear and studio stuff, he always says it depends. And it's sort of a funny, annoying, like predictable response, right? But you've heard both of these two tonight say, this mic suits my voice. And I just think that like it's such a testament to how true that is when David said it really depends on what's going to work, because only you will know. And you've got to try stuff, and like Lord, I am so good at returning things in the mail, by the way. I will not let them keep my money. I'm like, I don't like it. Sweetwater, I'm taking it back. And actually Sweetwater wants to really help you. So that's an important thing to remember. But yeah, like you've got to know, you'll know your gear, and you'll know it through like trying stuff out, which is so much of what this industry honestly is. So with that, oh my gosh, okay, we've I let us hang out for 10 more minutes because we sort of, again, well, David doesn't come to these, so I can start a little bit late. But it gives people time to get here, and my good people are coming from other things. Always having good service with Sweetwater. That's exactly right. So, y'all, I guess like honestly, I feel again just so grateful that you've spent this hour with us, that you've shared your space and your stories and your experiences and the things that are hard and the things that are good. And yeah, Melanie, any last summations about your space and your journey, or stuff for new people who are overwhelmed?
It's overwhelming, and just give yourself a break, and trial and error. Just, yeah, a big thing is just give yourself a break and you'll figure it out. It's in it, like everyone says. I'm like, I hated hearing it. It's a marathon, not a race, or something like that. but, but it's true. You just gotta. It's gonna take time. You're not gonna. It's just, and figuring out. The longer I've been at it, the slower I'm going, and I'm allowing myself these downtimes because I have to work, or I have something going on, or life stuff, and then because I feel prepared, I just go, okay, I'm gonna take a minute, and I can go right back in my booth, and I'm like, yay! It's so exciting to get back in there. So it's about time, and just keep plugging away, because that's what I'm doing.
And finding the joy. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Appreciate that so much. Tony, last words and thoughts from you based on today?
Oh, Melanie's right. It's a journey. Just keep going on it. And I would suggest that if you have the ambition to want to look into doing something like that, just go on YouTube and find out how to build a voiceover booth, and you'll be amazed what you come up with. And like I took the best of like a bunch of them and I put them all together, but I wouldn't be fearful of it. And again, you don't have to do anything that big and ridiculous. And also, some of your best friends are Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, and Craigslist to find gear and to find stuff. How the red foam in this was used, which is awesome. I had to buy the black foam new, but the red foam was used. So you don't know what you can find out there. I bought pieces of plywood used, or I got free pieces of sheetrock, and I pieced things together. So, but overall, like I said, if you just put your nose to the grindstone in any manner, whether it's just a closet or building a ridiculous sized booth like this, you just keep going at it and you'll do well.
it was really great to see you talk about these things with like joy and enthusiasm and sort of like seeing the spirit of your discovery and your curiosity about how to do these things was really refreshing, actually, and I really appreciated just the way that you shared that with us. Y'all, I'm throwing our links in the chat one more time. Our spring sale is going on. It ends on May 31st. So if you haven't done training with Edge, like consider it now. Consider joining us. Sign up for EQ and compression. That's happening tomorrow night with Art Bruder. If you're like, I'm DAW stressed, Melanie's going. I'm going to be there too. Yeah, because I need it, and I'm obsessed with art. So he's the best. If you are so new, Investigate Voiceover is, talk about those 3-hour classes. We got them. 3-hour introduction to get you figuring some things out in your voiceover universe. And we do have home studio consultations with my friend Dan Friedman, and he is a riot. And he will get on Zoom with you like this, and you can get on. Look, we get clunky. You move things around. You share your screen, and Dan will talk to you about your weaknesses and strengths of the space and how to help you get going to where you need to be. So again, with that, y'all, I'm gonna let everybody go and have an amazing night. And honestly, just if one more time we can do our jazz hands and applause, up twinkles, and love in the chat for Tony and Melanie. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh!
thank
And our
you.
next session, thank you both so much. Our next session is June 22nd. I'm putting that in the chat. Yep, that's at the same time, and we'd love to have people back. Come join us again, and we'll look at more people's booths. And our Ask Me Anything is next Thursday with me and David. So we got stuff going on all the time, and I appreciate you. And here's my applause one more time.